While it kind of felt like almost everybody busted in week 1, that really isn't the case. There were plenty of players who had huge week 1s in fantasy football and are seeing their stock rise as we head into week 2. And even better, I think these guys are more than just 1 week wonders. I think these are guys who are going to produce potentially all season long and help your fantasy team. And as we head into week 2, don't forget to set those underdog pick'ems. Underdog pick'ems for week 2 are already live on the site there. And if you sign up for the first time using promo code ENDGAME, you're also going to get this new customer special. Josh Allen just needs to get 1 yard on Thursday Night Football. You take that pick, pair it with any other pick, and it's an easy win right there. Just go to Underdog, sign up with promo code ENDGAME. Not only are you going to get that Josh Allen free pick, you're also going to get a deposit bonus, 50% up to $1,000. Sign up now using promo code ENDGAME. And let's start at running back. It was definitely a much better week for running backs than wide receivers. And let's start with the guy who is actually leading everybody in fantasy points right now. As I'm recording this, with still a game to play on Monday Night Football, and that is Saquon Barkley. So much for all that worry about, Jalen Hurts vulturing touchdowns, not going to get enough, passing game usage in this offense. We can throw all that out the window. 3 touchdowns this week, but more importantly, he looked incredible. He looked explosive. This is arguably the best I have seen Saquon Barkley look since probably his rookie year. It is just so refreshing to see Saquon Barkley away from that Giants offense, away from Daniel Jones, and in a real NFL offense. I don't see any reason why Saquon Barkley can't be a fantasy stud all season long after what we saw. No, he's not going to get you 3 touchdowns every single week, but man, the juice is there, the offensive line is there, the offensive scheme is there, everything is there for Saquon Barkley to be an absolute stud in fantasy this year. Now, I don't feel as strongly about Joe Mixon being a stud all year, but man, after week 1, 30 carries, 159 yards, and more importantly, he was actually efficient. Maybe it's just being in this offense, he'll be more efficient. Now, he's probably not going to get 30 carries, ever again, really, this season, but still, he's the unquestioned number 1 in this offense. It's a good offense. He's going to have chances to score. No, he's probably not going to finish the year as like a top 2 or 3 or maybe even 5 running back, but I think he's going to be a weekly high upside RB2 that you're going to want in your fantasy lineup pretty much every single week. So you got to be encouraged by what you saw from Joe Mixon in week 1. And you also have to be encouraged by what you saw from Ramondre Stevenson in week 1. Maybe there's a Patriot we can actually trust in fantasy this year. 25 carries, 120 yards, a touchdown, 3 catches. I know it was the Bengals defense, but still, it's the Patriots offense and offensive line. But man, he looked good. But I'll tell you what, he fits this run blocking scheme perfectly. Look, it's only week 1. Don't want to overreact here. Don't want to already take victory laps on things that happened in week 1 of the NFL season. But I was saying, Ramondre Stevenson kind of looks like a bounce back player to me this year. Nothing changed my mind in week 1. No, he's not going to be this good all the time because, again, Patriots offense. But it looks like Ramondre Stevenson also going to be at least a solid to high-end RB2 the rest of the way that you should feel pretty good about. And another kind of like afterthought running back that you should probably feel very good about after week 1 is James Conner. This guy was a total workhorse in this game. 19 touches, scored a touchdown. Now, he didn't rack up a huge yardage game here, but the fact that he is the guy and pretty much the only guy is very encouraging for James Conner. This is a guy who's just been solid since he's gotten to Arizona, and then every year people are like, I don't really want to draft James Conner. And then they're like, I should have drafted James Conner, which is probably how you're thinking right now if you didn't draft James Conner. But look, James Conner, again, I'm not going to say he's going to be an absolute stud all season long, like a set and forget running back, but if he's your RB2, you got to be feeling very, very good about that right now. It's going to be a while till we see rookie Trey Benson carve out any kind of role here. So at least for the foreseeable future, if not the whole season, James Conner looking like a steal. But then the most surprising running back performance of the week, and quite possibly the biggest steal in drafts, J.K. Dobbins, the guy I said don't draft this year because he tore his ACL and tore his Achilles. And then he went out there and had a huge game. Sure, he only had 10 carries, but it didn't matter because he had 135 yards and a touchdown on 10 carries. 2 huge runs in this game. Now, if you saw those runs, you understand the concern here. He looked like he was basically on one leg. Is this sustainable all year? Probably not. Could he be this year's James Robinson? If you remember back a few years ago, James Robinson coming off Achilles was great early in the year and then faded and then was never seen from again. Possibly. He's got better pedigree than James Robinson. I will say that. I don't think we're going to get this J.K. Dobbins every single game. But look, this is a Chargers offense that wants to run the ball. He outproduced Gus Edwards badly. Maybe we see him start to take on a bigger role. Maybe it doesn't last all season, but you know what? You got to ride this wave while it's rolling. On to wide receiver now, and not as many guys to talk about here because the average passing yards per game in week 1 was a whopping 185. If you wonder why your wide receivers busted, there you go. Let's talk about some guys who didn't, and we got to start with Cooper Kupp. Now, bit of a caveat here. Yes, he had a huge game. 21 targets, the most of his career. 14 catches, 110 yards, and a touchdown. And look, I called him a boom, but I'm not victory lapping this boom. Look, was Cooper Kupp going to have a nice game on Sunday night? Yes. Was he going to do this if Puka Nacua didn't get hurt? Absolutely not. Now, of course, this will come down to Puka Nacua. How healthy is he? How many games is he going to miss? But look, for however many games Puka Nacua misses, Cooper Kupp is going to be an absolute monster. There is no doubt about it. So if you drafted Cooper Kupp, you're feeling great right now. Obviously, we don't have clarification on Puka Nacua at the time I'm filming this video. Maybe we'll have clarification by the time this video comes out and we'll know better about how many games he's going to miss. But right now, Cooper Kupp looking like one of the best steals in fantasy drafts. Now, a guy I will victory lap on is Chris Godwin, because I called him one of the best values in fantasy football drafts this year, and he did not disappoint in week 1. 8 catches, 86 yards, but most importantly, that touchdown. But even more importantly, it was a touchdown near the goal line. They looked to him near the goal line. This is what has been lacking from Chris Godwin pretty much every year, right? That touchdown upside. If they're going to look to him more near the goal line, that is going to be huge for his fantasy value. And with Jalen McMillan emerging as a real potential, other outside wide receiver alongside Mike Evans, that's allowing Chris Godwin back into the slot where he's way better. Now, got to take this with a little bit of grain of salt this week. It is the Commanders, and they're looking like potentially the worst defense in the NFL this year. But still, I loved Chris Godwin coming into draft season. Loved what I saw from him in week 1. I think if you got Chris Godwin, you got a solid, high-end wide receiver 2 at worst for the rest of the season. And then all that talk from Dan Campbell about Jameson Williams, well, it was not fluff. Jameson Williams went out on Sunday night and dominated that game. 9 targets, 5 catches, 121 yards, a touchdown. I mean, he is one of the biggest reasons why the Lions won that game. And by the way, those 9 targets, more than anybody, more than Laporta, more than Amon-Ra St. Brown. Now, I don't expect that to continue, of course, but it does show that it's there. The confidence is there. You don't get 9 targets on a fluke, like Rashid Shaheed. 3 catches, 73 yards, a touchdown. Okay, that's a little fluky. Alec Pierce, a little fluky. This is not fluky. This is 9 targets. This is a guy they were looking to over and over in this game. And all we've heard all preseason is he looks much better. They have trust in him. This is it. This has got to be the Jameson Williams breakout. Now, will he be this good all year? Of course not. But look, if you drafted him late and he's sitting on your bench and you're looking for upside as a flex play, I think that's going to be Jameson Williams all year long this year. And then I want to quickly give a shout out to all the rookie wide receivers not named Marvin Harrison Jr. I mean, really, it was a great week for these rookie wide receivers for the most part. I mean, Neighbors 66 yards, Coleman 50 yards. Xavier Worthy had a monster game on Thursday night. Brian Thomas Jr. found the end zone. I mean, really, you got to be feeling very good about this wide receiver class through 1 week. And look, it's going to get better for Marvin Harrison and also for Rome Odunze as the season goes on. This could be an absolutely stacked wide receiver class, and next year we could see a lot of these guys be drafted pretty early in fantasy. All right, let's get to quarterback and tight end, and I think the quarterback we got to talk about first is Baker Mayfield. 4 touchdowns in this game. Now again, like I said with Chris Godwin, it was the Commanders. This was pretty much like a slam dunk streaming option here at quarterback. But look, this is kind of an extension of what happened last year. Baker was mostly good last year too. And we look at the upcoming schedule here. Lions, doesn't scare me. Broncos, doesn't scare me. Eagles, doesn't scare me. Falcons, doesn't scare me. These are 4 good games for Baker Mayfield. He could be a very good option for your fantasy squad if you lost Jordan Love, or if you have Kirk Cousins and you're nervous, or you drafted Justin Herbert and you're nervous, as you probably should be, or Caleb Williams, one of those guys. Just go out and get Baker Mayfield and roll with him for the next 4 weeks and maybe beyond. Now, if you took a gamble on Jaden Daniels, you got to be feeling really great right now. Now, sure, it wasn't there with the passing game. I mean, this offense was basically look at your first read. If it's not there, tuck it and run. And while that's not great maybe for his development, and that may not be great for the offense as the season goes on, it's great in fantasy because even though he only threw for 184 yards and no touchdowns, he is currently the QB2 on the week as I'm filming this again before Monday Night Football. Why? 88 rushing yards, 2 rushing touchdowns. Rushing upside for quarterbacks is a cheat code in fantasy football. And it's not like they're going to all of a sudden say like, okay, let's have you go through like 3 or 4 progressions and not run as much. No, this is what they're going to need this guy to do, and he's going to be able to do it. Now, I know there's risk, like he's not huge, Maybe he gets hurt, but you know what? It's a risk worth taking because, again, QB2 on the week, only Josh Allen better than him. His first game ever. This is the kind of weekly upside you're going to get from this guy. So if you waited on QB and you got Jaden Daniels, hey, feel good. Just keep rolling him out. I mean, he's going to have some bumps in the road. He's going to have some weeks where you're like, oh, that really sucked. But he's also going to have some huge weeks like this. And then at tight end, I mean, of course, we got to start with Isaiah Likely. I mean, dominated week one, really among all players. One of the highest scorers in all of fantasy, and would have been the highest scorer in all of fantasy if he had gotten his toe in on that last touchdown. But look, he's going to be the #1 waiver ad. Everybody's going to be running out to get Isaiah Likely. I'm going to say pump the brakes a little bit here. I'm not saying like don't go get Isaiah Likely. You should. And I'm not saying like, hey, don't start this guy. You should. But also, Mark Andrews is going to get more involved. Mark Andrews is going to be fine. I do think the Ravens will run more 2 tight end sets, which gives Isaiah Likely value in fantasy. I think he's going to be fine as like a low-end, startable tight end option, but don't expect you get week one ever again this year unless Mark Andrews gets hurt, and then Isaiah Likely could honestly be a league winner. But, man, if you drafted Isaiah Likely late or you're going to grab him off waiver wires, you should be feeling pretty good. And now a name I want to throw out that's a little more like looking down the road, not necessarily right now, is Tucker Kraft of the Green Bay Packers. Look, if Jordan Love was healthy, I'd be like, go get this guy and put him in your lineup, and I might even want him over Isaiah Likely, honestly. But Jordan Love's going to miss 3 to 6 weeks. Hopefully it's closer to the 3-week side. But when you look at the usage in week one, Tucker Kraft outsnapped Luke Musgrave 55 to 15. And he ran 25 routes to Musgrave's 8 routes. He's clearly the tight end 1 in Green Bay. And sure, like the tight end 1 in Green Bay isn't going to be the most valuable, tight end in fantasy because you got 4 good receivers there. The ball's going to get spread around. But it's valuable enough when Jordan Love is healthy. Don't run out and grab Tucker Kraft right now and put him in your lineup because, it's going to be Malik Willis, Sean Clifford, Ryan Tannehill. We don't know, and I honestly probably don't care. But if you want to stash him, if you got a bench spot and you're like, hey, I don't love my tight end, and you want to stash him for when Love comes back, I think that is a great move. So those are the players you need to be keeping your eye on heading into week 2 that look like their value is absolutely skyrocketing. But don't forget, we got everything you need this week. Waiver wire, panic, start sit, booms. You can find it all in the week 2 playlist right here.